Brandon Smith, welcome back to the Missoula podcast.
Thank you.
I'm not excited to be here with you.
I know you welcome me back every week as if I've left or gone away. Like I just sit here and wait for you to return so we can record another episode.
It's always a good day to be in the studio with you is what you meant to say.
That's exactly what I meant. I'm excited.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, May. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Good. Well, May, can you, for our audience, because I can't do it, pronounce your full name?
Okay.
So we can get to know you a little bit better. You ready for that?
Yes. My full name is Oluwamayokun Irabor.
Got it.
But just call me May.
Just got you.
May is a little simpler.
Okay.
Where does that come from?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are different parts to my name. And that's because in Nigeria, there's so many languages and my parents come from two different parts.
Okay.
So my first name is Yoruba. My middle name is Edo and my last name is Edo, which is a part of Nigeria anyway.
Why do Nigerians names have so many different names? Like, is that a cultural thing or is that just a family thing for your family?
I think it's very cultural because like in Nigeria, it takes like a village to raise you, right? And so everyone feels like they have a part to your life. So you have different names from different people. So you just pick the top three.
Well, take us back to Nigeria. What did your parents do? What did your family do? How many siblings?
Okay, so my dad was a pharmacist and my mom worked in a bank. I have 4 siblings, so we're 5 kids. So I have 4 siblings. It was beautiful. I miss Nigeria, really, just because it's so close-knit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every random person can be like a brother. You get what I mean? Like, you can meet someone random and feel like they're part of your family. So,
did you grow up in the city, more rural Nigeria? What did life look like for you guys?
I did grow up in the city.
Okay.
I don't know much about rural life, but I would say during my National Youth Service, which is something that everyone has to do after they go to college, I did serve in like rural Nigeria. And it was so different from me, but so fulfilling as well. Just.
How old were you when you came to Missoula or came to America? Let me rephrase that. How old were you when you left Nigeria?
27.
27. And growing up as a kid, did you ever anticipate your life would look like the way it does today?
That's such a hard question to answer. And it's a hard question to answer because I've always known that I would have huge impact. But I didn't know where. Like, I felt like I will stay in Nigeria because I love Nigeria so much. But then I ended up here. And I'm glad I'm here. But no, I didn't see that.
What was it like growing up in the city in Nigeria with parents that were educated? Did they go to college? I mean, obviously a pharmacist and a banker. What were some of the lessons that they were teaching you along the way to you and your siblings?
Because my parents were really good people, they taught us to not look down on anyone. Like, you can have someone in your life who is not half as educated as you are, doesn't have as much money as you have, but you can treat them as a person by their character. People are either good or bad. You can't treat them based on what they have or what education they have. You treat them based on themselves. And I feel like that's something that has stayed with me my whole life.
So you went through school in Nigeria and then you said there was a program that everybody has to go to. What was that called again?
So it's called the National Youth Service.
Okay. And that took you to rural Nigeria.
Yes.
And then what was the plan after that? What was May's kind of life trajectory going towards?
Okay, so my trajectory has always been entrepreneurship. I've always done business. In college, I planned like a school trip from my classmates to Ghana, which is not far from Nigeria. It was almost a fail, but I did make some money from it. I hope none of my classmates watch this because I did make some money from it, but it was a fail. Like, we had to sleep on the road over the night. It was bad. But I've always known I wanted to do business. And so right after college, I did go into a male-dominated industry, which was like oil and gas and building construction. So I was supplying diesel to big construction companies in Nigeria. And then I was doing granite and gravel, delivering that, entering trucks with drivers and going overnight and doing all of that. I've just always been crazy when it comes to business.
She's more of a man than I am.
Yeah,
wow. Like gravel and diesel, like I'm out.
What attracted you to that industry of all the industries that you could have done?
What'd you go to school for?
I went to school and I studied mass communication. So everyone would expect that I stay in media, public relations, all of that, which I kind of do now. But I felt like there was a gap I could feel. People were getting like delays on their orders and all of that. And really, right now, I can't actually remember how I thought about entering the industry. But I sat down one day and I wrote a list of companies I could reach out to. I'm like, I'm just going to send out emails and cold call. And I started to do that. And then people will say, oh, yeah, we're seeking someone who can do this. And then I'll call like one of those queries and I would say, do you guys have gravel? Can I buy it on credit and pay you once I get paid from the client and all of that? And that's how I started. And I did that for years.
So you just found a need and decided, hey, I'm going to fill it. I've got the tools, the communication skills to.
And I was 19 at the time.
You were 19.
Wow. What was your favorite part about that industry? Was it hard working as one of the only females, or that didn't bother you all that much? And what was
very hard working as a female and working that young, because you have a lot of people who try to take advantage of you. But I've always been street smart, so I always found a way to pull through. But I liked the thrill of it. Like I just enjoyed like the hustle and bustle of it.
That's
amazing. And where do you think this?
Well, if you're ever looking for work, give us a call. Because wow.
Yeah, we'll take you. Where do you think this entrepreneurial drive came from?
Honestly, I don't know.
No?
Yeah, because even my parents wonder, like, they're like, I'm just different. And I don't know where it came from, but I've just always enjoyed trying new things. That's probably where it came from.
Was it there as a kid? Like, were you entrepreneurial as a kid, looking for opportunities to?
Yes.
Where it's just.
Yes, I've always been like, I would sell beads in class to my classmates. Like, I would always just try to make money. And the reason why I always wanted to make extra money was because I always wanted to help people. My mom would say, like, I would always ask her for money and say, oh, the person down the street can't pay their rent. Can we please help? Like, it has always been a part of me. And that's probably why I always wanted to have a lot of money. And I felt like I couldn't have a lot of money working for someone else. I had to make the money myself. So that's probably where everything came from, I think.
So what happened at 27 where all of a sudden you're looking at leaving Nigeria? What was that like and where'd you go?
Actually, that wasn't on me. That was more my husband.
Okay. So where'd you meet your husband? Let's back up.
Man, so I've been with my husband 12 years. And we've been married 6 years. And we dated for 6 years. I met him at a young adult camp. I was in my third year in college. And he was invited there to minister. But he had always come for the camp every year. And I was friends with his friends. So it was just a whole long story, but I'm glad we met.
So your husband was in the ministry?
Yes, he still is.
Okay. And then you two were together for a long time. What propelled you guys forward to leaving Nigeria?
My husband got a job in Missoula.
Out of all the places in the world, Missoula, Montana.
I'm telling you. So it was so many things. And it's such a beautiful story. He was on Indeed and he was looking at jobs in Canada, actually, because we were going to visit Canada, see my siblings in Canada. And he stumbled on Elevate Church in Missoula. And he put in an application. We joked about it because we're like, no one is going to call a Nigerian from Missoula because there's this whole thing about the Nigerian prince.
Well, you have the Nigerian prince. He's got a lot of money, right?
I promise you.
May, he's emailed me
many times.
And even if he doesn't have the money, just the fact that he took the time to send me an email, I'm grateful for.
I promise you, there are no Nigerian princes in that sense.
Dang it.
He put in the application and he went through like the series of interviews and got the job.
Did you even know where Missoula was?
No.
Had you ever heard of Montana?
No.
Did you know that there was snow here?
I did know there was snow, but like everything I Googled about it just felt like, I don't know.
So you didn't have a lot of peace thinking about Missoula. How did he sell Missoula, Montana to you? I mean, you must love this guy.
I do, with all my heart. And he's made me move many times. But this time, I think we were both in sync. We both knew that this was what we wanted to do. It seemed crazy, was where like my heart was a bit shaky. But we knew like this was the path we were going to go.
Had things gotten to a place in Nigeria where you just didn't feel good about staying there? Or were you just more excited about opportunity coming across the Atlantic, I guess?
Do you want to hear the craziest story?
Yeah, of course.
Things were perfect. My husband just built a new studio in Abuja, which is like the capital city in Nigeria. And my business was going well. I got an opportunity with a multinational, but was based in Nigeria. So it was a good life. But sometimes with the faith that we have, you kind of like know when like it is time to move. Like all my siblings were surprised. Like everyone has lived in Canada for years. I never wanted to move. It didn't even cross my mind. But then all of a sudden, I was just like, okay, this is it. So it wasn't a thing of like being in a place of desperation or not actually enjoying where I lived. It was just a thing of knowing this was what we needed to do.
What is the tie between Nigeria and Canada? Because I think we often think here in America, you know, a lot of immigrants, migration from Africa to America. We never really think about, or at least I don't think about Africa to Canada. Like Canada's further north. It's colder. It's more snow. It's a completely different government, economy. Like what was the draw to Canada?
So with a lot of immigrants from Nigeria, you're thinking end goal, which is getting citizenship, getting dual citizenship for your kids, for yourself. And Canada offers that. It's much easier in Canada. If you've been a permanent resident in Canada for 3 years, you automatically can apply for citizenship. And most times you will become a citizen. So for a lot of Nigerians, it's a lot easier than coming to America and living here for 10 years and still not being able to call yourself a citizen. So that's probably the draw for a lot of Nigerians and Africans in general.
Makes sense. Well, should we take a little break and do our rapid fire questions?
It's awesome. How many questions do we have this week? Our rapid fire.
We'll see.
Our burning 5, burning 7.
What was your first initial memory of Missoula, Montana?
Landing in the airport, because it was so exciting to see all the people that we've spoken to over the phone for 3 years, because it took us 3 years to get here, to see them in person. I will never forget.
3 years. It's commitment. That's commitment for a job. Going to the great unknown for 3 years. It's wild. May, do you have a favorite coffee shop here in Missoula?
I don't take coffee. So
no coffee. You're from Nigeria. You grow coffee in your backyard. Like no coffee.
It's so bitter.
Does your husband drink coffee?
No.
Do you guys drink tea?
Sometimes.
What's the drink of choice?
If I'm taking tea?
Yeah, just
what's your favorite drink?
Yeah, favorite drink.
Apple juice.
Apple juice. Solid.
That's a good choice.
Do you like apple juice? Are you an apple juice guy? Yeah. How about favorite restaurant here in Missoula?
It has to be the new Mexican restaurant at the mall. I just don't remember the name now, but
Elote.
Yes, elote.
Is there anything close to Nigerian food here in Missoula? Mexican's pretty close.
And the Indian, I should have said masala. It's probably my favorite restaurant. Yeah, because it's pretty close. It has the spice level I'm looking for, the kind of cooking I'm looking for.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if we went back to Nigeria to visit your parents, what dish would they serve us?
Jollof rice.
Okay, what is that?
So it's like an orange looking rice, but it's cooked in like bell peppers, red bell peppers. It's cooked in tomatoes, onions, garlic, ginger.
So close to like Mexican or Mexican rice. Interesting. May, what zip code do you live in here in Missoula?
59803.
It's a lot of 803s.
We have had a lot of 803s on the show lately, which is just the best.
What's the weirdest thing about Missoula?
So many weird things. I'm going to have to think of.
Just list them off. Just go. Just go.
And now my brain is blank. I can't even say one thing that I think is weird, but I know you guys are really weird. I promise you.
Missoula's weird.
So the people are weird?
No, the people are nice. The city is weird, and how things are done is weird, and how there's sugar in every single food is weird. Everything.
Is there sugar in food in Nigeria?
We don't cook with sugar. We cook with spices. There are just a few things we put sugar in.
So not a big dessert culture?
There's a dessert culture, but we wouldn't consider food dessert. So to put sugar in food.
Gotcha.
Do you like sugar?
I take sugar. I take ice cream. I take stuff that has sugar, but I don't like sugar. I like spices.
Gotcha. What do you love most about Missoula?
The people. I feel like Missoula is such a kind place. Like the people are really kind.
May, is there a particular book you've read that's had a significant impact on your life?
I'm not a big reader. I'm a big writer.
Have you written a book that has made a significant impact?
I've written many books. So I have a not-for-profit in Nigeria. And so I have 2 books written. One to kind of like educate young kids about sexual abuse and all that. And we've distributed that book to over 2,000 students in Nigeria. I have another book about like teaching kids to say no. Like no is a complete sentence and you can say no in different situations. I'm currently writing a book about using AI to grow your business. I have a business planner and a business workbook for small businesses. So yeah, that's the complete list of books I've written.
Amazing.
Tell us a little bit about the journey, going back to your story. So you talked about the difficulty in becoming a U.S. citizen. Tell us the story. You left Nigeria, went to Canada. How long were you in Canada?
I was in Canada for only 1 year. But in the year I was in Canada, I kind of like experienced firsthand how hard it is to migrate. And that's why I started Thrive in Canada. Kind of like helps like new immigrants settle from start till they feel like they're settled.
And you said it takes 3 years to become a citizen in Canada, or is there a fast track?
No, there's no fast track in Canada, but they're like different routes. So someone comes in as an international student. It wouldn't take you 3 years to become a citizen because first you have to complete your course of study and then apply for permanent residence. Now, once you're a permanent resident, it takes you 3 years to then apply for citizenship.
Okay.
But if you apply for permanent residence from Nigeria and you get approved, it takes you exactly 3 years to become a citizen. So it's kind of like case by case. It depends on what your initial entry into Canada was.
Okay. So when you left Nigeria, the plan was to come to Missoula.
Yes.
But you had to go via Canada.
Yes, because my husband had another offer from Canada. Now, it's easier for anyone to come into the US from Canada, especially if you're working.
Because we have open borders.
Canada.
I see where you're going with this.
So like he was working in Canada and it was easier for him to come into the US and say, okay, I have a job in Canada, but I'm going to take a job in the US. And so it was easier for him to get an approval because we did get denied from Nigeria, was why we even went to Canada in the first place.
And so what was the church in Missoula doing throughout this time as you guys were trying to get here?
Craziest thing, my husband was recording videos and they were using his videos for worship.
Wow. So he was employed at the church while you guys were living in Canada.
Yeah.
And you guys were trying to get to the US, but you were getting stopped?
Yes.
Okay. Why were you getting stopped? What were they?
I think it's just immigration. So because of the whole Nigerian prince thing, I think it kind of like affects the way Nigerians are able to immigrate into the US, because they just kind of like believe that most Nigerians are frauds, right? Which is sad, because it's partly true that a lot of Nigerians do front, but a lot of Nigerians are doing great things. And but like how do they say it? The bad eggs spoil the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why it was difficult. The immigration process was difficult. But like from Canada, it was pretty straightforward, because he had worked in Canada for a year. It was clear that this is actually what he does. He's not a fraud. So it was easier to come in.
And then America just said, all right, you've proved yourself.
Yes.
Come on in, essentially. And so it was a 3-year process from leaving Nigeria to getting to Missoula. And are you a U.S. citizen today? How long have you been in Missoula?
I've only been in Missoula for a year and a half.
Okay.
And no, I'm not a U.S. It takes at least 10 years.
10 years. So you are just a citizen of Nigeria?
Yeah.
That's it right now. And have you been back to Nigeria since you've been in Missoula?
No, I haven't.
Is that frowned upon to go back, or is that?
Yeah, or is there concern that it'd be hard to get back here if you went home, or what?
No, it wouldn't be hard to get back in because I'm legally in the US. But my family, like I said before, my family lives in Canada. So I've been to Canada thrice already, just because they're right here.
Mm-hmm.
For my husband, it's a lot harder because his siblings are in different parts of the world. None of them live in Nigeria at the moment. So there's not much to go back to. And my parents were here like just last month. So.
And what has that been like? You have a family.
Yeah.
How is your family assimilated, or how's the process been here in the last year and a half for you guys here in Missoula?
Because I'd assume the culture of Missoula is very different than the culture of Nigeria.
It is completely different. I always say that I was glad that I went to Canada first, because it helped me kind of like get used to the North American system. I know Canada and America are not the same thing, but it's kind of like similar cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And it was easier to first do that around family and get used to like just being on your own. It can be really hard, especially for my kids. Like, not many people get my jokes because I'll make Nigerian jokes and then you're like, what she's saying. So it can be hard, but it was easier because we first did that entire process in Canada. So
you're an entrepreneur. You were working for all these different companies, setting businesses up. Life was great. All of a sudden, your husband decides to throw out his resume on Indeed. You find yourself in Missoula, Montana. What are you doing today? Are you still pursuing that entrepreneurship drive inside of you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so right now I'm doing many things. For one, I'm still doing business consulting. So a lot of immigrant businesses in Canada, I help them set up their businesses, write their business plans, and I help them grow their businesses. I have a partnership with a creative agency in Canada. It's called Euphoria Creative Agency. And what we kind of do is like we brand businesses and we optimize their business processes. Apart from that, I run Thrive in Canada. So I talked about that earlier on, just helping new immigrants settle in their new life as immigrants.
Primarily from Nigeria or from all over?
Okay, so I have a wide range of clientele. In Canada, you find that you have a lot of Indians and a lot of Africans. So my clientele spans across Indians, Kenyans, Ghanaians, and Nigerians. But my biggest clientele is Nigerian.
What's the hardest part about settling into a new culture for most of these immigrants?
It's the new way of doing things. For example, in Nigeria, we pay everything cash. There's nothing like credit or building credit. I noticed that was one of the hardest things for any immigrant to understand, why they had to owe money to be able to do anything. And so like I had a partnership. I still have a partnership with Credit Counseling Society of Canada, where we kind of like go through credit classes, like, so you understand how the system works and all that. So it's a wide range of things. It's in Nigeria, you can go into a house and rent it on the spot. It's a different ball game. You have to fill a rental application. You have to have a guarantor if you don't have good credit. All of that is hard for anyone who comes from my part of the world to understand. And so that's what we kind of do, like take you through the process and make it easier for you, basically.
Because I would assume coming from Nigeria to Canada or the US, essentially you have zero credit. There's zero credit history. So it makes finding housing very difficult unless you have a Nigerian prince who can just buy you a home.
Yes.
Right.
It's so different. It is.
What seems to be the favorite part of the immigration process, coming to a new culture for most of the clients that you work with?
The better opportunities that they have. Because like if I earn $200, for example, and I send that back home to Nigeria, that's like 300,000 naira, which is someone's salary in Nigeria, which is a lot of money. So for a lot of people, it is the hope that they can do better for their families. Like every Nigerian is like conscious of people that they leave back home, for people who have people back home. So it's like, I can send money, I can help the people that I have back home. So
is that one of the primary reasons people look at migrating, is to go pursue a better life to help their family back at home? Is that, I mean, it's very common.
Yes. That's mostly common, actually.
Okay.
So what keeps you going in this new business venture? Like, why is this so important to you, outside of the obvious that you had to struggle?
I think the joy I see on the faces of all of my clients. Like, when people finally feel settled, I'll give a quick story. I just completed settlement for one client, and her husband landed a job that was paying them over 100,000 a year. Like, you could hear the joy in her voice. Like, she didn't want to get off the phone. She was so excited and said, I didn't know this was possible. I thought I had to do menial jobs when I moved and stuff. It was, the joy keeps me going.
That's awesome. Do you ever meet your clients face to face? Like, they move. Have you ever been up in Canada and had the opportunity to?
Yes, I've met a few of my clients face to face, but the ones that I've worked with in the last 6 months, no. And we had an event. I had an event in absentia. Like, I wasn't there, but I had an event for newcomers in Winnipeg. It was kind of like 360, housing, everything. And we had like experts come and speak to them. And I had emails sent back to me like, I thought you were going to be there. I wanted to meet you in person. And that really melted my heart.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How many people are immigrating? Like, is there the masses right now coming from Nigeria to Canada, or is it?
Okay, so Canada has like a cap on the amount of people that can come into the country each year. But I'll say in the last year, from the last statistics I looked at, I think there were 31,000 people from Nigeria who moved into Canada last year.
1,000 a year.
Where's the most common destination that they go to in Canada?
Actually, I don't think anyone cares. As long as they're in Canada,
they'll go anywhere.
Yeah.
Just getting there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And how many of those 31,000 are hoping to come into the U.S.?
So I feel like for a lot of people, they don't really care about the US.
Okay.
Because they're like, once I'm able to get citizenship, I can go to the US anyway. I can visit the US anyway. So it doesn't really matter.
So for you guys, it was just more of a job.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily trying to get to America. Yeah. It was, you were following a career.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So what's next for you and your family? Are you going to plant some roots here and this is it, or are you waiting on the next adventure?
This is it. I love Missoula so much. It's starting to feel like home. And I see an opportunity here, especially for small business owners. Like, I know I'm always thinking business, but it's kind of like, I see like people are maximizing like social media or digital media and stuff for their businesses. And I know that I can help with that. So I'm already thinking about doing that for businesses here.
And your husband likes it?
He loves it.
How do you handle the winter?
Stay warm. My kids like it, but I don't know how I feel about it. Yeah. Because I always say like why I don't like the winter so much is like I have to think before I go out. Like I have to like have layers of clothes on.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, I don't like the winter. But
well, you're not alone. I'm born and raised here and I'm ready for summer.
Yeah.
Yes.
This time of year is always a little bit depressing. It's like, oh no.
I just said yesterday.
Going into it again.
I just said yesterday to my family, I said, the leaves, they're so pretty. But it's depressing because I know what's coming. I know what tomorrow brings.
Yes.
So we're in it with you, May.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in it. Well, May, so awesome to hear your story today and just the potential of a young gal that grew up in Nigeria and moving to Canada and then coming here and just, it's so cool to hear your story. And I'm so glad you found Missoula.
Yes.
And this place seems like it's going to be better because you're here.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I was checking out your social media. I mean, you're doing some cool things, a lot of great ideas, strategies. I mean, honestly, if you're an entrepreneur listening to this, go follow May. Find her out on Instagram, doing some really cool things. Got a great following, lots of followers. A bunch of Canadians are following her as well. But just, so impressed with you. And thank you so much for coming in, just opening up and sharing your story. And actually I learned a ton. I just the migration process, born and raised here, so I never think about it. So
let's get you out on one more question.
Okay.
If there was a young entrepreneur listening to this today that maybe has migrated or immigrated, or maybe not even that, what is the advice that you'd give them along their journey?
You don't have to stay at the bottom of the barrel. You can rise to the top. Don't ever feel like you're stuck. Do what you came here to do and excel at it.
Stephen lied because I have a follow-up question. Did you ever feel like you were stuck at the bottom of the barrel? And
I think we all feel that way.
How'd you overcome that?
I feel like when you look at how the system is placed, you feel like I can't beat this, but you can. And because of how my mind works, I will always find a way to beat the system. That's the best way I can put it. Like, just look at it and see where you can come in, how you can help. Because when you help, then people will pay you for the services that you offer. So that's how I was able to. And then the last thing is, don't wait for someone else to give you an opportunity. Make the opportunity for yourself. Like, if I wanted you guys to hire me, I probably will make you hire me. So.
That's awesome. Good for you.
We'll take your resume.
You've got the job.
Done. May, thanks for making this world a better place. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much.
What's up, Missoula? This is Nick Balla, producer of the Missoula podcast. We truly appreciate you hanging out with us as we dive into the stories that make our city special. If you could do us a quick favor and follow the show wherever you are listening, whether that's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, maybe you're watching on YouTube, so hit that little subscribe button. It really helps us out. Head on over to www.themissoulapodcast.com for more information, and we'll see you next week.